Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Okay, can this work this time? Can we at least have something normal functioning in here for once? I just want to make sure. Are we all fine with this? Hold on, one more time. Okay, I think we're good. We'll stick with this. We'll be fine. Welcome everybody to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and oh my god. For those of you who are either watching this on YouTube or just listening to this in your podcast service, you are lucky because I literally had to spend half an hour trying to fix up the bugs on my streaming software. I'm using OBS on my Mac, and I just realized because I recently did an upgrade, it really messed up with my systems. Like, it really got to the point where, like, I couldn't get any sound whatsoever. In fact, the people watching this were not even able to listen to the intro as normal, which is ridiculous. I mean, like, I don't know why an upgrade or like a software update ended up really screwing over my stuff. It was just absolutely ridiculous to go and deal with. Oh boy, I'm glad that I managed to solve all this, that we could go and continue this. Again, I am so sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm so sorry that I had to delay up to this point, but at least now we can manage, like, we can work this out and we can, like, just continue along. We got it all working. Later on, I'll go and fix up the kinks to truly see what the hell is wrong with OBS. I mean, seriously, like, an upgrade like this shouldn't even freaking happen. I mean, why would it mess up with my audio system? Seriously, like, I might be a little bit more upset than usual, but I mean, after going through, like, 30 minutes of, like, trying to solve a godforsaken problem, it's ridiculous. Seriously, like, I shouldn't be doing this. But, well, I should be doing this podcast, but I shouldn't have gone through, like, 30 minutes of trying to solve a godforsaken problem that shouldn't even be there in the first place because OBS decided to go and screw up with my system. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. But anyways, at least we got it working. People can hear me. Now we can go and actually get into this. So chat wall, are you finally ready to go and start this off? Are you ready to begin this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? I know you've waited 30 minutes for this, but now it's time we can actually get into this. Okay, good. It's great to see that people are still enthusiastic about it. That is wonderful. And now with that said, it is now time that we can go and get this started. And with the first one that I have for you today, we are going to be looking into last week's big trailer. Now, I know that technically we don't necessarily have a lot of animated features yet for the rest of 2021, but there is one in particular that the anticipation is very much high. And especially after this trailer, oh, I think this is going to be one that will be worth it. I think it will prove that there are still some things in 2021 that are worth anticipating and to look highly upon and to really, like, make you excited for the future. Or at least the near future in this case. So with that said, let's go and start things off by looking into the trailer of Walt Disney Animation Studios' next movie, Encanto. So let me go and set myself up. And now let's go and have a listen.
Many years ago, this candle blessed our family with a miracle. Our house, our casita, came to life with magic.
La casita.
Floors! Drawers! Let's go! In time, every member of our family
Cecilia, up top!
was given their own magical gift.
I understand you.
I'm not super strong like Luisa.
The donkeys got out again.
On it!
Or effortlessly perfect like Señorita Perfecta Isabella. But Mama, why am I the only one that didn't get a gift?
You're just as special as anyone else in this family.
You just healed my hand with an arepa con queso.
Casita?
What's going on?
The magic is in danger. We gotta get out of here!
We must protect our home. We must protect our family.
This is my chance. I will save the magic. Wait, how do I save the magic? I'm losing my gift!
Mirabel, the fate of the family is gonna come down to you.
I can't do this.
Let me help you. The rats told me everything. Don't eat those.
Even in our darkest moments, there's light where you least expect it. A lot of stairs. But at least I'll have a friend. Nope, you flew away immediately. Quitter!
And that is the trailer for Disney's Encanto, which is going to be coming out in American Thanksgiving, which I believe is November 24th. Yes, on November 24th. Thank you, Edward Bova, for that subscription. Very nice of you. Perfect timing, too. And one thing I will say is that when it comes to when it comes to Encanto, I remember when the first trailer did come out, and I was very much impressed with everything, but there was the one element that, like, I kind of saw that was a little bit iffy for me, and that was with the plot line with Mirabel, and the fact that she is the prominent main character of it all, and she's the only one that doesn't necessarily have any superpowers. So pretty much recycling the same plot line that we've seen before in stuff like Sky High or My Hero Academia and stuff like that. And that was my one criticism that I had so far with what I've seen with Encanto, at least with the trailers that Disney has delivered us. Honestly, after what we just saw with this trailer, I kind of regret a little bit doing that little criticism. And I kind of want to say that I'm sorry to Encanto, because this trailer, when we got the new one, oh my god, it's honestly better. Like, I know technically the teaser trailer for the first one, like the teaser trailer of Encanto, is supposed to show us like the concept as an introduction to the family, to meet up who these characters are and stuff like that. You know, it's a full introduction. But this trailer over here is all about showing us what the story is about. Like, okay, now that you got a little bit familiar with the characters, here's what's going to be happening. And basically what it's showing us is this story about saving their home. You know, there's a little bit of a theme about family, about, saving your home, and like everyone working together and getting together, even though some are not as magnificent as others. You know, they are unique in their own way, and they contribute to the family in their own style that is equally as you would say, magical as other people would. And honestly, looking at this, it truly and I think that's the best way to put it, is that this whole thing really does feel magical. And it might sound crazy, but I feel like we're finally back to the classic Disney that we all love, to the classic style of like Disney animated features that it has been such a long time since we have truly received, like this original Disney animated feature. Now, this is not a knock against the previous Disney animated films that came beforehand, but what I mean is that with Encanto, this is the first time since Moana that it feels like a true Disney animated feature. One that doesn't feel like a legitimate sequel, and one that is actually a musical at the same time. I mean, yes, technically Raya and the Last Dragon was the first original Disney animated feature since Moana, but that is a lot more action-oriented than something that is more in the lines of a musical, like what we had before with Tangled, Frozen, and Moana. So with Encanto, that's where like we feel like Disney is kind of like going back to their roots a little bit, where Raya and the Last Dragon went more in the same kind of direction as Treasure Planet and Atlantis, which this might be a bit of a hot take. I feel like Raya did that a lot better than either Treasure Planet or Atlantis as an action-adventure style movie where you go into this new world and stuff like that. But with Encanto, the feeling that we are getting, at least with some of the trailers, is that this is going to be back to the Disney animated musical that we know that they would go and do best. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they would let go of their action side. That doesn't mean that they're not going to go and be all action-packed and that... that they're going to do a lot of like crazy and unique things with the animation to introduce us to this brand new world. That is exactly what they are going to do in this movie in particular, especially from what we have seen, like especially introducing us to like not just a whole lot of Colombian culture, but especially going into La Casita, especially. And that's one thing that I will say, it does remind me so much of Moana in a sense, especially where is that clip? Like it's like right at the like over here actually.
I will save the magic. Wait, how do I save the magic?
Like, in a way, it really does remind me of Moana, mainly because La Casita actually plays a very similar role to the ocean in Moana, where, like, technically it's a faceless, inanimate object, or it's a very abstract kind of character in a way, but it's still a character that has a personality. It just has this very unique way of coming to life. So really there are these elements where, yeah, it's kind of like the Colombian version of Moana, where there are going to be those action-packed moments. You got a character that is very similar to the ocean with La Casita itself. And I guess you could say Luisa is pretty much like Maui in the last movie, or especially like with the kind of super strength that she has. Like, she pretty much has, as like, you look at Luisa, and she pretty much has as much muscle as Maui in a way. Like, I can imagine some people, like, probably they would ship Luisa with Maui. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but like, you could see that kind of power couple or that power dynamic right over there. But going back to what I was talking about, yes, this really does feel like this could be another, like, the Colombian version of Moana, like, really indulging in its culture, have a little bit of action, and not to mention, of course, having music by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And that is one thing that I do appreciate from this trailer, or from any of the advertising so far, is that we have yet to actually have a taste of any of the songs that's going to be in Encanto, and especially that it is coming from Lin-Manuel Miranda, and that we did manage to know, like, a little bit of his style as well, like what he could do in animation nowadays, not just with Moana, but this year also with Sony Animation's Vivo. Like, if it's anything like Vivo, I think we're going to be in for, like, an amazing treat with Encanto as well. And the fact that they're still holding on to some surprises, I think it's going to be a wonderful experience when this will come out. So honestly, with everything that they have shown in this trailer, they really knocked it out of the park. They really did show a lot of great elements. The animation looks beautiful. The story, it looks very engaging, and it looks also heartwarming as well, where it will have some messages about family and home at the same time. The characters are also really likable, and the jokes are on point as well. Like, already from this trailer, I was very much enjoying the character of Mirabel. She was, like, they definitely gave her a lot of great lines, and even even in this trailer, she definitely has a lot of the funniest moments. Like, just to show you a few examples, like there were there was the moment where she's bonding with her mom about family and how she's still special.
In his family.
Like this part here.
You just healed my hand with an arepa con queso.
Like that one, I thought it was actually funny. Or even at the end, like after you see the Encanto title, like when she's with the toucan, like right at the end.
A lot of stairs. But at least I'll have a friend. Nope, you flew away immediately. Quitter!
Like that was actually cute. That I really enjoyed as well. So yeah, the animation is great. The story seems engaging. The characters seem very likable. The humor is on point. And there's still a lot more surprises to come. So I think, honestly, this is a wonderful trailer that Disney has crafted. And it's great to see that Disney is actually doing a better and better job with their trailers. So hopefully the movie itself can actually be as good as what the trailers are promising to us. So keep in mind that the movie is going to be coming out on November 24th, so we will wait and see in just over a month, not 2 months exactly, but just, less than 2 months. That's when we are going to see how Encanto is truly going to be. Alright, so with that said, let us now go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about this trailer of Disney's Encanto? Is this a movie that you guys are excited to watch? Do you have any criticisms that you want to go and add that makes you feel a little iffy about the movie? Let me know what you all think about this. Alright, let's see here. Well, I can safely say that this is probably my most anticipated animated film of the year, against a little competition. Are you sure? Because maybe you could also be very hyped up for Sing 2. I'm just kidding. Alright, anyways, this animation is top-notch. The best character is still the house, and I'm pretty curious about the casting of John Leguizamo since he hasn't been in anything good in years. You could probably guess I'm gonna see this when it drops, unless the big Leguizamo number is him singing, "Move it out and let's do the shit! Take it back and do the shit!" Oh my god, yeah. I think Disney is going to distance themselves from anything Blue Sky because I remember like a few days ago Disney went and put a post like on their social media, like on their regular Disney social media sites, where they would go and just highlight some of the Ice Age characters and say the coolest the coolest characters in prehistory, and it got massive backlash because it reminded people of how Disney shut down Blue Sky Studios, and now they're pretty much presenting Ice Age as if it's their own character. So I think by that point, Disney is just kind of distancing themselves from Ice Age. It was a bit of a moment where I think, like, in the marketing team, or at least Disney's marketing team went, "Go!" I hope you guys heard that, by the way. I just want to double check if, I hope, like, after everything, is my soundboard still good? I don't know, just want to make sure. Okay, good. You guys heard it as well. All right, perfect. I don't know. I might be a little bit antsy with some of the things that are going on. Again, after everything that I went through, I just want to make sure things are working. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Mirabel is adorable and still looks identical to my sister's friend. Really pretty movie and funny characters. My only question is, when everyone's losing their powers, what would happen with the shapeshifter? According to Wikipedia, doesn't quite know what they are yet, which sounds kind of scary to me since conceptually they have been so used to shapeshifters into someone else like their family that losing that ability means having to confront your real appearance. But yeah, can't wait. I can imagine that he'll probably lose control. Like, we did have a little bit of a clip, like just a tiny moment when La Casita was, like, going out of control, like,
What's going on?
Where is it?
The magic is in danger. We gotta get out of here!
We must protect our home. We must protect our family.
God damn it, okay, maybe not, okay, it's not at this point, but, oh, okay, right here, sorry about that, yeah, here.
My gift!
Yeah, like, okay, like, you'll see on the side, like, he'll just go, yeah, there you go, like, just be, like, really going crazy, like just losing his powers and like not having control of like shape-shifting ability. But anyways, let's go back to other comments here. This trailer certainly has me a lot more interested in this movie compared to the first one. The animation is beautiful as expected from Disney, the music is quite amazing, and I like the fact that the house itself has a personality of its own. Though, I am curious about if they are going to show Mirabel's powers around the end of the movie, or that Mirabel actually has no powers, which would be a lot more interesting to me. And honestly, I do agree. I think, yeah, it would seem kind of typical for this kind of film if they would go in that direction of oh, it turns out she has powers all along. But if they don't give her any powers, I think it would actually be a lot more admirable, and it would actually help out with the message that it wants to sell as well, that you don't have to have special powers in order to be special. So honestly, if they don't give her any powers, I think it would be all the better. Oddly enough. Alright, let's see. I have nothing to complain with this trailer. I love the animation, the music is slamming, and I was absolutely surprised that John Leguizamo, out of all things, is in this movie. It's great to see that the classic Disney format is coming back, so I will definitely see it. Alright, that's definitely nice. And I mean, you never, often you never know what kind of actors that would suddenly go and appear onto stuff like this. Yeah, I know, some have mentioned before that John Leguizamo hasn't been in anything, really prominent or, something worth praising about in a long, long time. But still, sometimes it would just take something as simple as this, a Disney animated film, to really, turn things around, or to remind people that, yeah, you could still be a very entertaining actor. And I mean, yeah, I know John Leguizamo is in a lot of crap, but I mean, he, when he can be a good actor, he can legit be a good actor. It just requires the right script to really go and prove it. Let's see, what else do we have here? I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with this new trailer, and you're not wrong, Matt. Encanto was truly the first OG Disney animated film since Moana, with song and music from Lin-Manuel Miranda. Let's hope that the movie would be awesome when it comes out on Thanksgiving. Me and my family will be watching it next month. Also, Matt, I'm wishing you a happy early birthday, and that the final Smash Bros. Character will be revealed, and Nick All-Star Brawl is coming out tomorrow. Yes, for those of you who don't know, at least as I am recording this, my birthday will be tomorrow, so yeah, thank you all for the birthday wishes, or at least for what would be to come. But yeah, so that thing is happening. Let's see now. This trailer got me excited. Lin-Manuel Miranda has been on a roll in 2021, and this film looks visually impressive, and I am very excited to hear how the songs are going to be. Also, it is definitely great to see that Disney is starting to have faith in movie theaters again and releasing their movies exclusively in theaters after the success of Shang-Chi. Yes, that is also another thing worth mentioning, that for the first time in a long, long time, this is going to be out in theaters and exclusively in theaters. Only for 30 days, though, because on Christmas Eve, that's when Encanto is going to be available on Disney Plus for free. But whenever you can, please take advantage of the moment to actually see Encanto on the big screen, because with the animation this beautiful, I think it is worth it to really indulge and immerse yourself when it's on a massive screen. Just make sure that you are vaccinated, though. That's the one important thing, first of all, considering that many cinemas now do require vaccine mandates if you need to go in, which is a good thing. Let's see now. What other comments? I think I'll read one more before we move on to the next one. What else do we have here? This trailer looks great, especially with the promising story, great animation, good voice acting, interesting characters, and hopefully awesome songs that I really wanted to hear. I hope it is great when it comes out, and hopefully be one of the best animated films of the year next to Mitchell's and Luca. Yeah, so I can definitely see that a lot of excitement and a lot of hype is already going on for this. So if you are excited to go and see Encanto, just keep in mind that it will be coming out on the big screen on November 24th, and that it will be coming out on Disney Plus on Christmas Eve. Okay, so the next trailer that I do have here, yes, we have another trailer going on. This is not necessarily a project that is as well known as something as Encanto. In fact, the trailer's release is kind of the first time that at least I've heard about this project, but I think it is one that I feel like it is interesting to go and talk about. So with that said, let us go and check out the next trailer over here, in which we are going to be checking out Fireheart. So let's see what this is all about. What is Fireheart? Well, let me show you.
Emergency at the chemical factory!
Georgia, girls aren't allowed to be firemen.
But I'm as brave as any boy. It's my dream. It's my destiny.
Girls can't be firemen. Give me a break.
Extra, extra! Arsonist strikes again!
Firemen who go into the theaters. They don't come out. I need you to run the fire investigation.
I'll need a team.
Here's the plan. I joined Dad's team. Egg crate for the stomach muscles, mango for the biceps. And for the mustache... Okay, too much.
Shake what your mama gave ya. Shake what your mama gave ya. Shake what your mama gave ya.
Are you one of the volunteers? Do I know you?
Let me introduce you to the brains of your operation, Ricardo. Ginger driver, fastest cabbie in Manhattan.
Who are you?
Me, I'm Joe. I'm Fireman Joe.
Slow down, Joe. Did you even check the water pressure? We're going in.
Let the show begin.
Seriously?
It's funny. You remind me of my daughter.
Huh? Really? Yeah, that is funny.
Yeah, she wanted to be a fireman, too.
So why didn't you teach her what you're teaching me?
She's my daughter. I love her, and I worry about her every second of my life.
Aww. We just get I catch the arsonist, I'll have to change the rules. Then I'll be the first fireman woman.
The job is far too dangerous.
Maybe this is a sign that it's time you follow your own dreams. I never gave up on mine.
The mustache is very convincing.
It's my dog's butt hair.
Oh.
So that is, yes, that is Fireheart, which doesn't necessarily have an official release date, or at least an official North American release date. But I do believe that it is either in Asia or in Europe that it's going to be released first, and then eventually it will be coming out in theaters. In fact, it even did promise that sometime in 2022, that's when it's going to be coming out on the big screen. Now, for those of you who are not necessarily familiar with this is actually provided to us by L'Atelier. And L'Atelier is an animation studio in Montreal who actually did have experience with working on animated features, and maybe some that you may have seen before. Probably the best example that I can think of, considering that this is their second animated feature that they fully animated. The first one was a movie that maybe you have heard of before called Ballerina, or Leap. And I actually do have it over here. I don't know why I have the DVD. I think I got it through the P.O. box. But yes, this movie right over here. And with this feature... This is an animated film, like it was set around the same time, like maybe in the late 1800s, where like in New York City, even back when I think like the Statue of Liberty was in construction, or it wasn't newly built and stuff like, or something like that. But it pretty much told the story of this girl, to not give up on her dreams and become like a very prominent ballerina dancer. And like we are seeing a little bit of the same thing. There is a bit of a similar type of story that we are seeing with Fireheart, where it's the story of a girl who wants to be a fireman in Prohibition America, around the, like, not necessarily the same time as Ballerina, but around the same time where it is in the past, and it kind of is in New York City. But with Fireheart, though, they're going to lean more into the action, and that they would go and get into like the fireman aspect instead of like ballerina aspect. But one thing I will say, at first, like, it really does seem like it's meh. I don't see people getting excited as much as they would for something like Encanto. Considering that with this story over here, let's face it, it's Mulan. That like this movie is pretty much an American Mulan, where you have this girl who wants to follow her dreams. She wants to be a warrior, or in this case, a fireman, which is a role that is mainly assigned to men, especially back in those days. So she can't really get in because she's a girl. So what she does is that she disguises herself as a man in order to enter in and become a fireman, to actually get into the league. And probably you can imagine following afterwards, there'll be a plot line where it turns out, yes, she actually is a girl, and she reveals herself to be like the chief's the chief's daughter, and like there'll be a breakup moment, but then in the climax she'll come in with the police force and save the day and whatever. Like it's pretty much it sounds like it really is going to be like Mulan to a T. And ironically enough, maybe this movie could actually be more faithful to the 1998 Mulan more so than the 2020 remake, oddly enough. So yeah, like it's not very much promising in terms of the story, and I mean, let's be honest, even the humor seems a bit off. And especially one thing I will say, like, it's the weirdest thing, and I don't really get it, is when she would disguise herself as a man. And we see, like, yeah, this moment right over here. This is supposed to be set, like, in 1930 or something like that. It's supposed to be back during, like, like I said before, this is during Prohibition America. And yet, apparently the disguise that the main character is going with is to dress up like Freddie Mercury. Like, complete with a biker jacket, and, like, even the mustache, like, feels a little bit similar. It's just, like, this just looks more like Freddie Mercury than someone from the Great Depression. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there's something weird with this kind of look right over here. It's like you're in the wrong timeline. This is not supposed to happen then like many decades later. Or I don't know, she might even do like a little bit of a reference to she might actually do this like she might even reference like Back in the Future. She'll say like, okay, I know this is like pretty crazy, but man, hey, your grandkids are gonna love it. Alright, but in all seriousness though, like, even though I will say the writing already looks extremely iffy, but then there's this other side where I actually see a lot of promise with this feature. Like, there's a lot of good things that has my intrigue, and it looks very well done. Like, most namingly, the animation. The way that this movie recreated New York City, I think, honestly, it's really admirable, and it's highly detailed where, yeah, it really, like, yeah, it's 1930s New York City, but it really can feel legitimately like New York City. Like, you'll see some shots over here. Like, if you pay attention to the backgrounds around the character, like, look, like, the amount of work that they would do to, like, put all the flashing lights and even all the different ads that they would put in. It's a stylized New York City, but you could see, like, the amount of work that they would go to recreate this, like, the entirety of New York. It's very much admirable that they would craft all that. So, honestly, I gotta give points to Fireheart that, yeah, they got some very impressive backgrounds going on, and even like the character animation, like, it does look solid, especially with some of the effects as well, which will transition to another aspect that I find very interesting, and that is the supernatural element. Like, this doesn't seem like the kind of movie that would have supernatural elements, and yet it does, because apparently the villain is going to be this, like, shadowy figure that apparently haunts one of this theaters, and apparently is causing like all these arson attacks around New York City, and even like the smoke effects that they have going on is very much admirable. Like, even all this is going on, it's like, wow, okay, like, this is impressive. There is a little bit of a twist showing that maybe there is a little bit more to this movie than just being like this American Mulan clone, and that they're adding some, adding some like extra elements to it that is a little more different than you would get than your normal Mulan story. Even at, like, yeah, Mulan has supernatural elements, including like spirits of the ancestors, and like, depending on which version you would watch, you would also have like Mushu and Kriki and like maybe other extra characters, but but like with this one though, like it looks like they're adding in a bit of extra lore that could be going on, especially when they're adding in like the disappearance of firemen. I will admit, like this kind of exceeded my expectations a little bit, because overall, I will say that when it comes to the trailer that they're showing us with Fireheart, yeah, on one hand, it really does seem like your typical forgettable animated feature where it has like a simple plot line of like girl power and like a very similar Mulan-like story, and even the jokes are pretty weak in this. But then again, there are those extra elements where it kind of exceeds my expectations, and it's like, maybe there are some things that could be worth watching here, especially with the highly detailed backgrounds where they fully recreated 1930s New York City or 1920s or 1930s New York City or whatever, and also adding in the supernatural element of like this mysterious arsonist that is also this spiritual figure. So I will admit, there are some things that I'm more impressed than I first thought. So I don't know, maybe this could be watching. I'm not expecting something amazing, but maybe there could be some elements that would make the viewing experience of this more worthwhile than it may seem. I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I will say there are some things that look pretty solid, especially with like very beautiful animation, like great, well-crafted animation as this. Who knows? Maybe this could actually be top-notch. I mean, all this truly needs is a major distributor to go and release it on the big screen. Like, they would need a company like either Sony or Paramount or Lionsgate to go and pick this movie up, just show it on the big screen, and just go from there. I think, honestly, like, it may not seem like much, but maybe there is a bit more potential than some may expect. I don't know. This might be one that I feel like I want to know your thoughts on this. This is one that I feel like I want to have more discussions about to see what others may think of this. So for me, this is kind of like a little bit of a mix between like forgettably meh, but also kind of impressive at the same time. So like I'm kind of in between those two. And that's exactly what I want to do. I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I would like to ask, what do you all think about the trailer of Fireheart? Are you guys more enthusiastic as I am to know more about what this movie is about? Are you guys less enthusiastic where you just really don't care about this? Let me know what you all think. Okay. Let's see. What do we have here? It's just cute. It's nothing new or interesting, but it's not a bad kids film or kid distractor. I'm not interested in seeing it, but it's harmless and not worth bashing. I feel like there are better stories worth looking into in the 1920s and 30s, with the 1920s and 30s aesthetic. I like non-medieval Europe setting in the sense of different look aspects and culture. Okay, yeah, I do understand. This looks okay. The animation and designs are very vibrant, but overall, this looks meh to me. But they need to have the main character in disguise dance to get on up and drive that funky soul. Yeah, just throw in a 70s song for a 1930s movie. Yeah, because that'll definitely make sense. While dressed up as freaking Freddie Mercury. Also, but like we need to add that. Okay. Yeah, and someone even mentioned apparently this is a mix of Mulan and Ghostbusters. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Let's see. I'm 50-50 on this movie. Animation and characters are fine, but if the timeline of the story is in the 1920s and 30s, why is it that the main character throws a breakdance number in the street of Chelsea or Times Square? What went wrong with the scenarios with the director's minds? I guess that's who you mean, but anyways, if it wasn't for that bit, I would have liked more of the trailer. Hope they won't deform the local accents like in the 90s dinosaur movie that you reviewed a while back. Also, I turned 28. I turned 28 years old today. Oh, happy birthday then! All right, let's see what we got here. I gotta say, this film looks pretty solid. The animation looks surprisingly solid, and a big step up from Hercules. I love Ming-Na Wen's performance as Mulan, and the comedy of Mushu is really enjoyable, so I'll definitely be checking it. Wait, what's that? Oh, the person to my left reminds me that this is in fact not Mulan. But, oh boy, really? Just need to add that. Anyways, weird, but all jokes aside, this film looks fine, the animation looks good, and I'd go into more detail, but I'm running out. You're running out of, like, comment space right there, I see. Anyways, I looked up Fireheart on Wikipedia, and it's not there. Does the US release or the UK and Australia have a different title, like what Ballerina did? Honestly, I don't know. That we will have to wait and see. I mean, with Leap and Ballerina, that's kind of a unique case right there, so I don't know if it's going to be the same with Fireheart. We'll see. What else do we have here? This trailer looks pretty average to me. The story reminds me of Ballerina plus Mulan. The animation almost reminds me of Paw Patrol the movie. I'm not saying the animation is bad, because it does look good. I'm just saying that it reminds me of that movie. And I feel like some of the characters might be meh. But I do see a lot of promise that it is being put in this movie. It might be worth watching, but I wouldn't get too high in my expectations. Also, my birth month is the same month as you'd expect. It was yesterday. Oh, so your birthday was yesterday? Well, happy late birthday then. All right, that's cool. It's nice to see more and more people are having like really close birthdays going on. I think I'll go and read one more comment, two more comments actually, before we move on. Did people who made the film not know what the first woman firefighter was in the 1810s named Molly Williams? Besides that, this looks pretty average. It's basically the whole girls can be good as good at something as boys story. Not a bad type of story, and heck, they did make her Little Miss Perfect. She does screw up a bit, like with the hose, but if I do want to see the film, it needs to do a bit more to stand out from some of the other movies. Okay, understandable. All right, let's see. The best thing about this trailer is that it's harmless, but this doesn't really look all that interesting. The story is meh, the animation is meh, the characters is meh. This is basically the typical underdog story, so I'm not all that on board. Maybe kids will enjoy it, so yeah. Let's just see if they can tolerate this other than Norm the Norm and maybe the Emoji Movie. So yeah, I can pretty much see that the common reception here is that this is pretty meh. Not many people are that interested, but, you know, it's just like, it's fine. Nothing to really hate on, nothing to really bash, it's just really, I guess. But yeah, apparently they do promise that sometime in 2022 the movie will be coming out, so who knows? We'll see what happens. Maybe we could be wrong, maybe we could be right. But all we know is that it's a movie. Okay, so the next story that I have here, we're going to be going into a pretty interesting subject, because this is the kind of story where, at first glance, this might seem pretty stupid. Like, why the hell would they go as far and do that towards cartoons? But it's a case where the more you think about it, the more dangerous it actually is. And maybe you have heard of it, but I want to go and try to discuss this in full. So with that said, let's go and talk about the massive censorship that's happening in China. So in case you haven't heard, just a few days ago, China has officially announced that they are going to be a lot more strict in censorship in terms of cartoons and kids shows. In fact, just to read a little bit from my source here on CNN, they mention here that the National Radio and Television Administration, the country's broadcasting authority, announced late Friday that it would ban cartoons and other TV shows primarily produced for children that contain any mention of violence, blood, vulgarity, or pornography. And the reason why they are doing this, well, what they claim is that they want to go and teach kids good moral values. They want to go and try to have more of a positive influence towards what children are consuming. Even mentioning that TV channels must resolutely resist bad plots and instead only broadcast excellent cartoons with healthy content that promote truth, goodness, and beauty. They would go on and state that children and adolescents are the main audience group of cartoons, adding that broadcast organizations should set up special TV channels for children that create a good environment for the healthy growth of young people. Now, by this point, you might be thinking, okay, well, hold on a second. What do they mean specifically by promoting truth, goodness, and beauty? Because, let's be honest, those are actually pretty vague terms, and they could actually mean a lot of things. Let's be honest. I'm sure some people might think that, oh, well, truth, goodness, and beauty, their definition will be definitely different than someone else. But there is a little bit more detail to what they mean, and I try to figure that out myself, and it's actually coming from the second to last paragraph on this CNN article, where they say, in nearly all the recent bans and crackdowns, Chinese officials and state media have consistently decried the supposed capitalist moral decay and Western values threatening young minds, and instead encourage nationalism and loyalty to the ruling Chinese Communist Party amongst Chinese youth. So basically, their definition of truth, goodness, and beauty is nationalism and loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party. Now, keep in mind that this is not the first time that we are seeing China really going down on cartoons and kids' media in order to go and preserve their values, per se, in order to preserve their nationalism and their loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party. In fact, it even stated here that back in April, authorities in the Jiangsu province released their list of 21 cartoons and television dramas that could affect children's development. The list includes well-known cartoons such as Peppa Pig, My Little Pony, Case Closed, which is also known as Detective Conan. And not just that, but they also went down onto several other different types of media, not just cartoons, not just kid shows, but they even mentioned stuff like putting a ban on idol competition shows, K-pop fan clubs, and even effeminate male pop stars. So unfortunately, if you are a fan of BTS in China, well, we got some sad news for you. But why is it that we're talking about all this? Is it just the fact that now they're going after cartoons and putting up a ban? Well, there actually is a reason for this. And already there seems to be massive backlash from the Chinese population because of this new ban. And that is because the Chinese government actually went after a highly beloved series in China, and that actually is the beloved Japanese series Ultraman Taiga. In which it even mentions here, just to read this massive paragraph here, just go like in this big part, it states here, Ultraman Taiga, a hugely popular Japanese series about a superhero who protects Earth from monsters and aliens, was removed from online streaming platforms on Friday. State-run tabloid Global Times suggested it could have been removed because of its violent plot, included fight scenes and explosions. The show's removal sparked widespread outcry and dismay from its Chinese fans. The topic trended on the heavily censored Chinese social media platform Weibo. One popular post, which broke the news of the ban, was liked more than 1 million times before being deleted. A hashtag over the show's removal has so far been viewed more than 84 million times. So many people like to watch the animation Taiga when they were young. It not only expressed beliefs in the light, but it's also my people's childhood memories. Besides, it doesn't bring people any negative impact, one Weibo user commented under the now deleted post, possibly referencing the light of humanity and justice that saves the hero during the scenes. So that's pretty much the whole scenario that is currently happening in China, is that now they're being a lot more strict and a lot more serious when it comes to banning certain cartoons. And they're already at it where they're going after cartoons such as Peppa Pig, My Little Pony, and even to a certain extent, not completely, but they are doing some bans on Winnie the Pooh, especially when people are using memes to make fun of Xi Jinping, of the fact that he looks like Winnie the Pooh. And at first glance, I do understand that it seems a little bit ridiculous. It seems like something that it seems stupid and something to laugh at, where the Chinese government would go and attack something like My Little Pony or Ultraman because, oh, they're being too violent, we need to put in a ban that really they're spending they're spending taxpayers' money in order to go and highly censor those shows that seem very innocent to many different Western cultures or to literally anywhere else in the world. Why would they really go this far to go and ban cartoons and kids media like that? Amongst many other things as well, such as like K-pop, idol shows, and all that kind of stuff. Well, there is actually a legitimate reason, and this reason is actually a lot more frightening than you may actually think. Because they're not necessarily going after the cartoons themselves. What they are going after specifically, it's actually children's education. That's what they're going after. They want to go and maintain control on the development of children. Because the thing is, you got to think about it. When you are young, when you were back, like, just when you were a kid, back, like, when you were in your single-digit years or, like, in your tens and stuff like that, that's the moment, that is the age when you were the most impressionable. And that's when you were the most, well, I guess in lack of a better term, clueless of the world around you. And you would have to rely on, like, simple education to have you a bit of an understanding of how the world at least works. So you would have to go and watch stuff like Sesame Street, some preschool shows, or even go to preschool to understand your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. And so, from there, like, having that kind of education, of course, that would be the moment where you are the most impressionable. What you would learn from those ages, that's going to stick by you the most throughout your entire life. The lessons you learn then will be following you and will attach you the most for the remainder of your entire life, following for decades to come. And that is exactly what the Chinese Communist Party are pretty much targeting when it comes to going after these cartoons and going after this media. They want to make sure that they are the ones who will go and teach the kids what they want to teach them so that their values, including nationalism and loyalty to them, will remain intact. Because that's kind of the big goal of what authoritarian nationalists like the Chinese Communist Party, what they want to go and do, is go after children's media to make sure that whatever agenda would be spread, whatever lessons that they would learn, they would coincide with what their values are. If they do not match with the values of the Chinese Communist Party, then they will make sure to remove it so that no kid would actually go and see it. And keep in mind, this is not just a unique thing towards the Chinese Communist Party. This is actually something that is happening all around the world to a certain extent, because it doesn't matter if you're a complete fascist or a complete communist. Authoritarian nationalism is the exact same thing. And what they want is to control children's education so that they could go and breed and manipulate them in order to turn them into loyalists, for them to become authoritarian nationalists as well, to like mold them in their own image per se. And the reason why I say that is because technically we are still seeing a lot of authoritarian nationalism, even in the West, especially amongst American Republicans. And I don't mean all Republicans are the same. I mean the ones who are really in the far right, like the Confederates and the Trump supporters. They really are no different to the Chinese Communist Party, where they really want to have control over media. Yeah, they may portray themselves as having a massive hatred for cancel culture, but that's actually a power that they want to control in order to censor the media that don't coincide with their nationalist beliefs, with their authoritarian values. Whatever that they don't like, they want to have the power of cancel culture in order to silence it, in order to cancel it, in order to throw it away so that no kid could actually see it, so that they could grow to become authoritarian nationalists as well. And we have seen a couple of examples where they would go and target a few cartoons. You probably remember a few years ago with Mr. Ratburn's Wedding and Arthur, and how that was such a massive controversy, even down to the point that the state of Alabama actually banned it, or I think there was like one sector of Alabama that banned it. One thing that I do know is that there's somewhere in Alabama, or maybe the entirety of Alabama, would completely ban the episode from ever airing on television. Or even another prominent example, and this was something that happened not too long ago, like more than a month ago or just a few weeks ago. You probably remember the controversy with Muppet Babies. The episode in which it was called Gonzorella, where it teaches kids about accepting who you are and being comfortable with your identity regardless of what gender you're born, and portraying that with Gonzo wearing a dress. And that sparked massive outrage from the far right. They got massively pissed off, and they were calling for the cancellation of not just the Muppet Babies, but also for the Muppets as well. So you could see how this authoritarian nationalism, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're a conservative or a liberal, a fascist or a communist. Authoritarian nationalism is the same brand of evil with the same kind of goals. And that's what we are also seeing with China as well. And you know that it's not just that little list that I have mentioned. It's not just little things like My Little Pony, Peppa Pig, Detective Conan, or Ultraman, or even like BTS or whatever. You know that there are tons more content that China would just refuse to go and put up, and they would immediately go and give it a massive ban. And if you don't believe me, like, think about something that just recently came out that you know for a fact it would not be released in China whatsoever, because it is like possibly the most anti-nationalist movie that was released this year. And what I'm talking about is My Little Pony: A New Generation. Maybe some of you have probably seen that film. I actually released a review of it not too long ago, and honestly, it was a pretty solid film. You know, not a great movie, but honestly, I was very impressed with what they did put out, and it does give promise to a great future for the next generation of My Little Pony. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. If you have seen it, then you are probably aware of the message that the movie wants to deliver. To say, you know, to pretty much talk about unity over bigotry and segregation. Values in which that like authoritarian nationalists like Confederates, Trump supporters, and the Chinese Communist Party, they are completely opposed to. They do not want unity. They do not want people to not be afraid of each other. They want to keep things segregated. They want to keep the bigotry and the prejudice of others, that if they're not exactly like you, then you should hate them, you should fear them, you should spread misinformation and conspiracy theories. Like, those are the tools that they need in order to run their power. But My Little Pony: A New Generation comes in, and they would tell you the complete opposite, that you should not be afraid. We should all come together. We should work together in order to make the best of the entire situation. That's how you bring the magic back, is to reject nationalist ideologies in order to have unity. And I'll say right now, this is something that a lot of nationalists are already hating, that they are already bashing, and that you are already seeing that there are certain news sources that they're using trigger words in order to attack My Little Pony: A New Generation. And if you don't believe me, then check out this article I found here from Fox News, in which they literally have something that says here, My Little Pony has gone woke. The new Netflix movie introduces progressive creatures. Netflix released My Little Pony: The Next Generation, like, yeah, as if this is Star Trek, with a political twist. And you can see right over here how Fox News is manipulating the frame of this movie in order to have its audience to go and hate it, to go and attack it, to be repulsed by it. That they're using trigger words such as woke, progressive, political. You know, words in which that people outside of the My Little Pony community would not normally associate with the franchise. And already, because a new generation has such an anti-nationalist message, that, like, of course, it would be completely different than the agenda that Fox News wants to spread out. So, of course, a news source like Fox News would want to go and attack My Little Pony: A New Generation because it has messages of unity, it has messages of friendship, and of not being afraid, which is what Fox News needs to do in order to maintain their business. They need the segregation, they need the hatred, they need the fear, they need all of that. And for them, it's like My Little Pony has now become anti-Fox News, which is why they need those trigger words like woke and progressive and political and stuff like that. But the point that I'm making here, going back to what I'm talking about, is that all this is to say that authoritarian nationalism, regardless of where they are, either if it's in the United States or China, if it's for liberals or for conservatives, if it's for communists or fascists, authoritarian nationalism, again, it's all the same evil. And that's what we are seeing right now happening in China. And the reason why China wants to maintain children's education, why they want to manipulate what kind of shows and cartoons that kids would go and watch, is because they don't want their population to get any funny ideas of Western ideologies. What they don't like, the worst nightmare for the Chinese Communist Party is for the entire population to become like Hong Kong, where the population would demand for independence, that they want more freedom, that they want more freedom to choose, freedom to think, more to be themselves instead of being just a servant to the Chinese Communist Party. Or the last thing that the Chinese Communist Party wants, the worst enemy, the biggest nightmare for any nationalist, democracy. And if the Chinese population has any idea of democracy, and if that's what they would want to demand, they know that it's over for the Chinese Communist Party. They know that it's done. So the Chinese Communist Party right now, what they are doing is to try to maintain as much control as possible, even if it means taking away all of the control of their entire citizens, of their entire population. And that's what they want to do. That's why they're targeting cartoons. That's why they're targeting programs aimed for kids and teens, is because that's the age when they would go and be very impressionable, and that's where they would go and learn most of their lessons. And from there, whenever they would grow older, hopefully the next generation for them would be a servant to the Chinese Communist Party. That's what they want to do. And if you want another American example, just to give you a better idea of why governments trying to control children's education is very dangerous, why else do you think nationalists are so scared of critical race theory? Because the thing is, it's impossible nowadays to be either a Confederate or a Trump supporter without being racist. And if you teach kids that racism is bad, well then that's when they know that things are going to be over for Trump supporters and Confederates and for the far right and for all nationalists basically. Because then that's when they would learn that racism is not okay, and that's when they would learn more about the past history of the US and that it involves a lot of racism. And that's when they're not going to blindly be loyal to the United States or not view them as like #1 best country in the world or whatever. That's why they're doing everything they can in order to censor and I guess you could say cancel critical race theory, because they don't want to teach kids that racism is bad, even though nowadays we have tons of examples of why being racist should be considered a serious crime. So overall, going back to what I'm talking about, yes, I understand that it may seem a little bit silly at first why China would go and heavily censor cartoons and kind of wage war against cartoons and kids programming, you could say, but there is a deeper reason that we should be more aware of, that we should be more afraid of, because they're trying to manipulate our children's future. They want to try to manipulate the way that they would think. and they want to make sure that they make more of an impression on them than the programs that they would want to watch. So that's one thing I want to mention, is to be aware, like, whenever you would see something like this happen, when you would see a government try to go and censor cartoons or go after kids programming, even if it is something like Peppa Pig or My Little Pony, that's when you need to go and set the alarms, because that's when you know they're going after what is possibly our greatest weapon. Not tanks, not knives, not guns, not assault rifles or anything like that, but our knowledge. And if they're attacking our knowledge, that's when things truly get serious. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you guys, I know it's a pretty heavy subject, but I want to ask your opinion on what you think about the whole Chinese situation right over here, of China trying to take control over cartoons and the removal of Ultraman Taiga. Let me know what you all think on this. Let's see now. This is not going to go well for future representation in movies. It's bad enough movies can't make an actual LGBT character because of Chinese distribution won't allow for it. But now this crackdown on children's media means that any representation will need permission from the Chinese government before going into production. I honestly hope in the streaming age, we can have more freedom in themes and characters without coding or vague language or being a background character to dub. Yeah, and unfortunately, considering that we are talking about China, considering how they are a major powerhouse, yes, this is even going to affect the programs that you do watch right now. Like, yeah, you may think that, oh, this is only China, but no, this is also going to be something that will cause a major effect onto the TV shows and to the animated programs that you do watch right now, and even with movies as well. I mean, already it's bad enough that like animated features are having an extremely hard time of actually having a real and prominent LGBTQ plus character. But nowadays, because they really want to go into the Chinese, like if they really want to go into the Chinese market, then by that point, they'll have to make some major sacrifices, and any form of representation needs to be cut out for them. And the same goes with TV shows as well. The programs that you watch either on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or Disney, like the way that that there are some programs that they would have some prominently gay characters, you might, like, I'm not saying that you're going to see less of them, but there is a chance that if they want to go into the markets like China, yeah, they will have to cut them down, or they will have to reduce them to just dialogue to the point where, like, it's vague enough that they could go and twist it in order to make those characters straight. So yeah, this will definitely be, like, with how China is going to be, this will definitely be a stab in terms of representation. Let's see. I would say that the Chinese government are freaking insane when it comes to cartoon censorship, but I think that was established when they banned Peppa Pig in 2018 for, and I kid you not here, gangsta attitudes. But seriously though, really? Their idea of truth, goodness, and beauty is all this? Yeesh. Actually, I'm looking up other bonkers cases of this, and apparently a show called Shining Star was banned in China for hair color. Yeesh. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's it. That is exactly what we are talking about. And that is the authoritarian nationalist ideologies. They don't want to have any crazy ideas of any form of rebellion. Yeah, like, yeah, it's stupid to call Peppa Pig gangsta, or to go and call it like calling Peppa Pig gangsta attitudes. But for the Chinese for the Chinese Communist Party, the attitude that they would present in Peppa Pig, yeah, that is rebellious nature. That is something that goes beyond the values and how they want to shape children. How they want to shape children in the future. Now, by that point, I think I think a lot of people, even in the West, they would probably agree that they don't want to shape their kids to be a lot more like Peppa Pig and George. I think we can all agree there, but still though, the way that they are handling it and their reasons, they are all flat out wrong. What else do we have here? Why is it that I'm getting banned in China from South Park flashbacks? First South Park, and now pretty much almost all the media. From the article you just read, I just hope the idiots from Fox News shuts down that worthless and sickening news division, because at this point, all we need is Fox Sports and FX, because this is honestly ridiculous. Yeah. Someone's mentioning down with fascism. Well, in this case, it's more down with communism, actually. Like I said, this is not fascism here. This is authoritarian nationalism. There is a distinct difference. Like, fascism and communism, that's just like a political side. But anyways, back to what you're talking about. Yeah. Like, I think it is time you need to go and rewatch that South Park episode, because they do bring up a very strong and dangerous point. And especially nowadays when we are seeing some top major corporations bowing down to China in order to have some extra profit. And especially with how the economy in China has been growing a lot stronger and stronger to the point that it might even overshadow the US, it could lead to some very dangerous results to how corporations are shaping their products, more so to please the Chinese audience, more than to please the Western audiences. Let's see what else we got here. Seriously, this ban was such an evil thing. For Peppa Pig, it seems understandable, but for My Little Pony, seriously, why would they do this? And also, shame on Fox News for saying that the G5 MLP movie is woke. Note, they didn't even bother editing the Next Generation part, but in all seriousness, why would China do this ban? These nationalists are all sorts of evil, and it's just very bad. Oh, like I said before, there is a very strong reason why they would go this far, and the reason why is actually very horrifying, which is why we need to pay more attention to stuff like this, because, yeah, it's not like, the thing is, parenting might not even be a thing that would exist. For Chinese parents and stuff like that, the parents are not going to be parents. It's more Xi Jinping and the communists that are going to be more parents to the kids. Let's see, what else we have here. Well, China is a communist party, end of the rules and or values don't fit the leader of the Communist Party, then they block it for everybody, just like Germany wanted, and just like North Korea is doing. The best government style is a multi-party government system like France, but I digress. I do want to know why the John Denver episode of The Muppets is banned in the UK for some reason. I need to get back to you on that. I'm not 100% sure myself, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll read one more comment before we go and move on here. Yeah, China is slowly but surely becoming a new North Korea, installing pretty much a Hello Kitty We Happy Few ministry, reducing the video game playtime to 3 hours per week, social point cards. This will only help flourish dark web streaming sites like China to promote restricted cartoons, and that won't make Xi Jinping happy. I will only respect the multi-millennial culture of China, but not the actual country. Nationalism, ethnicism, and ideologism are sadly the main poisons of humanity. Exactly, man. Like I said, this is just a prominent example of how we are seeing authoritarian nationalism, like not only on the rise, but how it is corrupting our society. And the sooner we do something about it, the better. But still, though, this is just something that I want to point out here, and it can be quite frightening. Okay, so the next story that I have over here, we're going to be looking into something that finally is over. It's something that has been going on for a little while, for about, well, I would say a little over 2 months. Yeah, I think it's fair to say something that over 2 months that this has been happening. And yeah, it exploded in terms of the backlash that it got, but finally, it is now over. And what I'm talking about is regarding the lawsuit against Disney and Scarlett Johansson. Yes, it is official. Last week, Disney has officially announced that they have settled the massive lawsuit that involved Scarlett Johansson. Now, I just want to go and point out right now that the amount that they have settled with was not disclosed. We don't know how much Scarlett Johansson is getting from this, but the important thing is that they have settled the lawsuit, and now the two are friends again. But to give you guys a little bit of a context about what is going on, if you guys don't know regarding the whole situation with what's been happening with Scarlett Johansson and Disney, well then you may remember at the end of July, around the same time that around the same time of the release of Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson actually went as far as to sue Disney because of how Disney released Black Widow, not just in theaters, but at the same time on Disney Plus with premium access, which is something that actually contradicts with the contract that Disney has signed for Scarlett Johansson. And from there, the battle just got completely ugly. Because it wasn't just, like, two sides fighting each other, but also Disney tried to fight back, and my god, it really made things worse. Where not only did they reveal the payment that Scarlett Johansson got for working on Black Widow, which is said to be an estimated $20 million, but they also accused Scarlett Johansson of being completely insensitive regarding the pandemic. Which that one, my god, people really got pissed. And over time, a lot of people showed more and more respect and support for Scarlett Johansson, which ranged from not just actors, but also executives. People like Jamie Lee Curtis, Jason Blum, and even Elizabeth Olsen, after appearing in WandaVision, showed her support for Scarlett Johansson. Even her own agent, even Brian Lord, the co-chairman of the CAA, was pissed at Disney for attacking Scarlett Johansson, where he states, reading from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, the lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. He also mentioned that Disney shamelessly and falsely accused Miss Johansson of being insensitive of the global COVID pandemic in an attempt to make her appear to be someone they and I know she isn't. And even at that, a lot of analysts, they would go and look at it, and they would even go as far and say that, like, none of this makes sense. Even in the complaint itself, I'll just go and read here. It states, why would Disney forgo hundreds of millions of dollars in box office receipts by releasing the picture in theaters at a time when it knew the theater market was weak, rather than waiting a few months for the market to recover? On information and belief, the decision to do so was made at least in part because Disney saw the opportunity to promote its flagship subscription service using the picture and Miss Johansson, thereby attracting new paying monthly subscribers, retaining existing ones, and establishing Disney Plus as a must-have service in an increasingly competitive marketplace. To continue on, there was even one lawyer, I believe. There's apparently an attorney, James Samataro, even made a comment that how Disney approached this situation, like, it really was messed up. To which he stated here, the exception is when there's so, like, when talking about the idea of why people would go and do this kind of lawsuit, like, a lot of people are saying, like, oh, Scarlett Johansson is doing this for money, but the attorney states here, the exception is when there's so much money involved, or if there's a level of acrimony that has reached a point of no return, and people are going to stand on principle. That statement by Disney confirmed the latter, but it's still a shocking statement to make. To patch someone as being insensitive and playing a whole "you're so out of touch" card, you could probably make the same argument about Disney. Yeah, you've been generating millions, if not billions, during the pandemic. But after all this, after more than 2 months of this battle, it seems that now they have both made things up. And now it seems that Disney has settled the lawsuit, they paid Scarlett Johansson, and now they're both happy. In which Scarlett Johansson herself now states, I am happy to have resolved our differences with Disney. I'm incredibly proud of the work we've done together over the years and have greatly enjoyed my creative relationship with the team. I look forward to continuing our collaboration in years to come. Even Alan Bergman, the chairman of Disney Studios, would go and say, "I'm very pleased that we have been able to come to a mutual agreement with Scarlett Johansson regarding Black Widow. We appreciate her contributions to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and look forward to working together on a number of upcoming projects, including Disney's Tower of Terror." So that's the big thing that is going on, is that the lawsuit is finally over, and now both Scarlett Johansson and Disney are friends again. And I will say, honestly, this is a situation that I think Disney went with the best situation here. This is a case I think Disney did the smart move, and they decided they don't want this lawsuit to keep on going and just resolve everything so that they could go and be in good terms with Scarlett Johansson again. And the big reason for that is because, honestly, the more that you do think about this, the more you realize that regardless of the situation, this lawsuit is just bad for Disney. And it's so bad to the point that even if Disney would go and continue this lawsuit, if they would keep this going, and even if it would be at a point where they would ultimately win this, it would still be a scenario where Disney would lose more so than they would gain. Because this isn't just a massive PR nightmare. This isn't just a scenario where Disney would come in and they would be hated by the public and label them as having poorly treating their actors, even if they're renowned A-list celebrities like Scarlett Johansson. But also, this is something that would cause them to lose their trust to Hollywood. And that's something that they don't want to lose, because if they would keep this going, then it would leave a lot of prominent executives and a lot of talents to have a bad taste, to feel discouraged from ever working with Disney, and go and distance themselves, to reconsider, even if it is working on a major franchise such as Marvel or Star Wars or whatever. It's just something like this would discourage them from ever working with Disney, because ultimately there is a chance that they might be screwed over, even if it is someone that's as prominent as Scarlett Johansson. And that's something that Disney just cannot afford to loom over. Even if they would win, they know that the long-term consequences would really cost them massively, especially when it comes to losing their trust from all the major celebrities, from all the major people in Hollywood. They need to maintain their business, and they know that this kind of lawsuit would really go and screw them over. Not to mention the fact that this is the kind of lawsuit that wouldn't just screw over Disney, but would really screw over Hollywood in general. Especially right now, you probably have heard of this upcoming strike that's going to be happening so that talents can have better negotiations with executives, especially coming towards the streaming age. This kind of lawsuit would really just be bad for not just Disney, but for any executives. I mean, we know about the whole streaming controversy. It would cause a lot of backlash, not just with Disney Plus, but you probably remember the amount of hate Warner Brothers got when they decided that all their movies in 2021 would be released both in theaters and also on HBO Max. A lot of them were massively pissed. One example is Denis Villeneuve with Dune and stuff like that. There were plenty of people that were just not okay with that decision, and even some people are stating that this is a choice that really screwed them over when it comes to the box office. Movies such as I don't know about Tom and Jerry, but movies such as In the Heights or Space Jam: A New Legacy, they would have fared much better at the box office if it weren't for that choice of also releasing it on HBO Max. For free, by the way. They didn't even put in a premium access price, just like what Disney Plus has done with some of their movies earlier in the year. So from there, this is something that Disney knew would cause some very serious consequences. It would cause some serious backlash from Hollywood, especially from other executives. And it's the kind of lawsuit that would really shape the future of filmmaking and Hollywood in general, and how they would do business. Now that streaming has come in and is a very significant factor, thanks to the pandemic, or at least it's always been a big factor, but the pandemic really did emphasize the massive power that it does hold. So that's why Disney really needed to do something. They can't keep prolonging this lawsuit from happening. They can't keep antagonizing Scarlett Johansson. Like, they shouldn't even have made those comments in the first place. I probably mentioned this before when this lawsuit was filed, but this is a case where, honestly, I just feel like it is so stupid for Disney to go and attack Scarlett Johansson for being insensitive about the pandemic. And it's so hypocritical as well. I mean, you could pretty much say, like the attorney said, you could pretty much say the exact same thing about Disney. If Scarlett Johansson is so insensitive about COVID and you portray yourself as people who really care about the pandemic and the safety of others, then why are you not putting a vaccine mandate on Disneyland and Walt Disney World? Why aren't you taking action that only people who are vaccinated and who know about the importance of wearing masks, only they are allowed to go into your Disney parks? Why can't you go and do that, huh? Seems pretty insensitive of you to value profit over the safety of others during these dark times, eh, Disney? That's the big thing that feels massively hypocritical with what they're doing, honestly. And accusing Scarlett Johansson about being insensitive about the pandemic, like, yeah, that was a bad move. That was something that they really should have thought about, and it only made things worse, which is why Disney was in a position where, like, they cannot win, because the public will hate them, and then Hollywood would hate them as well, both in terms of the talents and even the executives of what this could mean. And you probably have heard that there are even some other people that even considered to do the same kind of lawsuit, not just towards Disney, but towards others as well, those who ultimately feel like their movie got screwed over because of the option of streaming services. Even, I believe it was Emma Stone who was it Emma Stone? Yeah, it was Emma Stone who was actually this close to actually filing a similar kind of lawsuit because of what happened with Cruella. So ultimately, Disney was left in a position where really not just the best option, but basically their only option is to go and get rid of it all. Just get rid of this entire lawsuit so that it just doesn't happen again. And that's what and that's ultimately what we are seeing right now. It's Disney doing their only choice to maintain their business and to stay in good terms with Hollywood and especially with Scarlett Johansson. I mean, I'm glad that this lawsuit is over and I'm glad like they can be in good terms again. But still, though, I think it really shows an important lesson about when it comes to going after like these actors and stuff like that. It's a situation that, yes, not all executives can make things go their way. It's not always them that can go and have things work things out. It's like, you know, they can't just pay their way to get out of everything. Sometimes they need to go and humble themselves and prioritize people first. They have to go and do stuff like that. So yeah, honestly, overall, I think it's safe to say that with this lawsuit, like it could have been much worse. And Disney stopped, like, thankfully they did stop it from becoming worse, but still though, it is going to be a bit of a scar in Disney's history. And there might be some talents and some executives that might be a little bit iffy before pursuing deals with Disney, but we'll see. Ultimately, like, yeah, it's messed up, but at least Disney stopped it from making things worse. Alright, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, how do you feel about the lawsuit officially being over, that Scarlett Johansson and Disney can be friends again? Do you think this is something that Disney should have kept on pursuing to go and sue ScarJo? Is this something that, like, yeah, Disney messed up so badly that, like they had to let go, or else it would just be worse for them? Let me know what you all think about this. Okay, let's see what we got here. The The lawsuit between Scarlett and Disney kind of reminds me of the conflict between Robin Williams and Disney when promoting Aladdin. Robin didn't want Genie to be over-advertised, but Disney broke his promise and he left. He may have temporarily came back in Aladdin 3 after things were settled, but he had a grudge against Disney again. I wonder how long would this sentiment between Scarlett and Disney last before the battle happens again. It can happen, but I hope it doesn't happen. Well, from what we are seeing so far, I don't think it is going to, like, last long, because, like, Scarlett Johansson did state that, you know, she's glad that she can reconnect with Disney again, and also, at the same time, like, they are working on upcoming projects like the Tower of Terror adaptation, but honestly, I don't think this is something that, like, Scarlett herself might hold a grudge onto, especially if she wants to make some major movies again, like working either for Disney or, like, even for the 20th Century side, like with Searchlight and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a different case, like, compared to what happened with Robin Williams. At least with Robin Williams, there are a few instances, even afterwards, where he did show, like, that he does appreciate what Disney has done to his career. Like, even I think there was one year where he actually accepted his Disney Legends Award for the performances that he has done, including playing the genie from Aladdin. Let's see what else we got here. Honestly, I'm happy that this lawsuit was resolved. Honestly, I do understand why Disney put Black Widow on Disney+. I think Disney should have worked things out with Scarlett Johansson. None of this would have happened. Also, with Disney blaming the pandemic, it was definitely hypocritical because Disney would blame the pandemic, but they decided to keep Walt Disney World open even when Florida was at its worst with the pandemic. Yeah, exactly. I think Disney is in a position where they cannot point fingers to say who's been good with the pandemic and who hasn't, because Disney has a few examples where they showed that they cannot do that. Like, I don't know if you have seen some clips of this, but you probably know a few days ago, Walt Disney World had its 50th anniversary, and there have been some shots and there have been a few clips, like, circling around online where you just see, like, crowds of people, like, really crammed up one after another in order to see this celebration happen. Like, yeah, I know that technically right now things are a bit better with the pandemic, but we are still in a pandemic. And especially right now that it is Florida, where right now we could consider it America's Chernobyl, run by a governor who pretty much has no rights to be in politics. Like, this is someone who is clearly mentally unfit to be in any form of political position, that, like, he needs to be kicked out ASAP, take all of his money away, like, sue him for the crimes that he has committed, and, like, get him, like, a job working at a restaurant to humble himself, honestly. But the point that I'm making is that you do look at all those Walt Disney World clips and how people are so crammed up, and you know eventually this will be causing an outbreak. So from there, yeah, Disney is in no position to say who's been doing a good job with the pandemic or not, because obviously with what's been happening with places, especially Walt Disney World, yeah, it's like they're not helping the situation. Let's see now. I'll be honest, I was figuring that ScarJo would lose and be blacklisted from Disney, and potentially other studios are being labeled as difficult. I'm surprised that it ended as well as it did, and that they would still work with her for Tower of Terror. I honestly don't know if she will still be labeled as difficult after 2022 and 2023, if Hollywood will drop her when she's 40. But yeah, ending the lawsuit ASAP for the sake of PR and hoping that people forget it is for the best. Yeah, and I mean, this isn't something that Disney could just go and easily resolve the situation by blacklisting her. Like, the backlash has been so strong, and the way that they've been handling it is so bad that they pretty much have no choice but to go and but to go and fix things up. And even if they would blacklist people, that doesn't mean their career would immediately be over. I mean, look at what happened to James Gunn and that whole controversy back in 2018. Like, technically, he was fired from Disney from working on Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but afterwards, like, that didn't mean that his entire career was over. It got a significant boost, which is why this year we actually got the Suicide Squad, and then eventually he got back to Disney. So they knew that even if they would blacklist Scarlett Johansson, that doesn't mean she's no longer a highly requested and highly demanded actress. She'll still get a lot of attention from other studios. And I mean, I guess you could say the same goes to Phil Lord and Chris Miller. You guys remember back in, what was it, like 2016 or 2017 or something like that? You know when they got fired from, they got fired for Solo because a lot of creative clashes between them and Lucasfilm? Right now, their career is far from over. They're still producing a lot of major projects that a lot of people are very much hyped up for. So the thing is, even if Disney would go and blacklist people, that doesn't mean that their careers are over. It just means that it would just look more bad for Disney than it does for those respective filmmakers and actors. Let's see, what else do we have here? I tell you, I haven't been this invested in a lawsuit since that whole Escape from Planet Earth thing, but still, I'm glad to see this whole thing patched up and that the Tower of Terror project is going to keep on going, since it seems really interesting. I don't have a lot to say, but at least I'll say that while people consider Black Widow a hot MCU character, I don't know, I feel like this year, we saw the debut of someone hotter, Alligator Loki. Oh man, Dude, I don't think you could be saying things on my live stream, especially if I want to upload this. I mean, oh my god, what you just said there, I think that might be too explicit. I mean, oh my god. I don't think people can really handle themselves from the sexiness of Alligator Loki. You need to calm yourself with those kinds of comments. I mean, my god, like seriously, settle down with those things. Like, yeah, there's sexiness, but then there's like, even mentioning Alligator Loki, it might give me like a community strike because of like just like getting really raunchy in here. Like, oh my god, oh dude. All right. Anyways, all jokes aside, let's keep on going here. What other comment is there? Just want to see. Yes. I'm honestly happy this lawsuit was resolved. Honestly, I do understand why Disney put Black Widow on Disney+. I think Disney should have worked things out with Scarlett Johansson. None of this would have happened. Also, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Did I read this? Oh, no, I think I did read this. Sorry about that, folks. Anyways, okay, yeah. Bob Chapek and the people at Disney haven't screwed over Scarlett Johansson's contract. Oh, if Bob Chapek and the people at Disney haven't screwed over Scarlett Johansson's contract, none of this would be happening in terms of doing day-to-day streaming strategies like what Warner Brothers just did this year. I'm at least happy that this situation has been resolved, but if Disney does it again, then it would have put a scar to them even more. I'm at least that over with. All right. I think I'll go and read one more comment before we get into the grand finale now. I see this as no matter who wins, Disney would lose in some way. If they won the lawsuit, many celebrities and directors would probably really hate them for what they said about Scarlett. If they lost the lawsuit, they would look really petty, stupid, and hypocritical. For me, it seems like the best choice for Disney to lose at least. Exactly, man. That's exactly the case. Disney got out of it. They finished this off sooner, and that's the best choice they could have done. Okay, it is now time that we shall go on to the grand finale. Don't worry, I will go and fix my timing on that. But anyways, yes, we do have the grand finale coming up. And when it comes to this one in particular, this one admittedly was a little bit of a last-minute addition. But this was something that you'd expect this is news that people already knew about, but no. Not many people are aware of this, and already during the weekend, people just flipped their lids. They were just freaking out over this thing happening, or more specifically, that this thing was not happening. And what I am talking about is regarding the missing whereabouts of Hotel Transylvania 4. Now, you guys might remember a few months ago when Sony Pictures Animation has announced that they were negotiating with Amazon Prime in order to sell Hotel Transylvania Transformania to that streaming service for it to exclusively air on that, where in exchange, Sony would have $100 million. But even though that was happening, not many people got the memo. Or, at the very least, some people might have actually forgotten about it, and there were some people that were still convinced that Hotel Transylvania Transformania would still be released on the big screen on October 1st, at the same time as the Addams Family 2. However, that seemed to not have happened. They had to go and, apparently a lot of people were freaking out and asking, where's Hotel Transylvania 4? What happened to Hotel Transylvania 4? Oh my god, why isn't Hotel Transylvania 4 released? And there even was a tweet that was circulating around, and you might have probably seen it, where even Amazon themselves had to go and immediately respond. Where one Twitter user actually wrote, this is actually a response to Amazon Prime Video and Sony Pictures. WTF is wrong with you? Sony, you disappointed children by not releasing Hotel Transylvania 4 into theaters. And then Prime, you didn't release it today like you were supposed to. My kid is bawling now. She has been looking forward to this for months. She cried. Yep, apparently children are crying because they did not release Hotel Transylvania 4. That seems to be a thing. However, Amazon actually went in and they actually responded to the situation by saying, we are sorry for the disappointment, but Hotel Transylvania 4 did not get released from the studio today as it was scheduled to be. As soon as it's been released, we will be airing it to you. Stay tuned. So pretty much their response is that, well, pretty much throwing Sony Pictures under the bus, saying that, well, they didn't really release it, so we can't really do anything. But when we get the signal to go and release it, we'll let you know. That's basically their answer, and that's pretty much the big situation, is that people are asking, where is Hotel Transylvania 4? Because let's be honest, the last update we actually got from that movie was actually from a few months ago, when they did reveal that they're talking with Amazon Prime to sell the movie to them and to release it exclusively on Amazon Prime Video. However, you might be wondering, well, are people really this stupid? Do they not understand that Hotel Transylvania 4 would, they would be released at another time and it's not happening, they would be released in theaters? Well, the thing is that, yeah, in a way, kind of, but I don't necessarily blame them. I understand the confusion, considering the fact that, well, Sony themselves didn't really update anything regarding when Hotel Transylvania 4 would actually be released. And if you don't believe me, let's actually go onto their official website. Let's actually go right over here. Now, if you would go and write hoteltransylvania.com, this is the page where you would get into. You would go on Sony Pictures' official website, and you would be you would directly go onto the section where it's all about Hotel Transylvania. And you can see on the side right over here where it says Hotel Transylvania Transformania, and it still states exclusively in movie theaters October 1st. Keep in mind that I am recording this on October 4th. And yet, Hotel Transylvania Transformania is still not released in theaters, or they didn't change the fact that it would not be released in theaters at all. So you can see, it's been a long time. Okay, to be fair, in Sony's defense, apparently the reports is that they're still negotiating. They're still considering their options to see if it is worth releasing on the big screen or not, or if it is worth selling it to Amazon Prime Video. But still, though, the fact that they have yet to even update this, the fact that they didn't even change the release date, that really shows a massive problem. So yeah, again, I don't necessarily blame people for that kind of confusion. I don't blame them for still thinking that Hotel Transylvania might be released in theaters on October 1st and stuff like that. I get the confusion, because apparently Sony Pictures didn't really say anything about it. They didn't make people aware about when is it coming out, or even the fact that it would not be released on October 1st. You'd think that they would do the decency to put that kind of update to let people know that, hey, we're actually going to be changing our plans, and no, it would not be released on October 1st. You'd think they would go and legit do that. But apparently, they didn't. And that's pretty much at the point where, honestly, this is a sentiment that, I've been keeping in for a long time. This was honestly something that I've had my suspicions for a while, and I didn't really want to say anything because, well, maybe, I could totally be wrong and I don't necessarily have enough proof for it. But honestly, after this, especially this kind of treatment towards Hotel Transylvania and Transformania, I just need to go and say it. Am I the only one that has the feeling that Sony Pictures is starting to really become distant towards Sony Pictures Animation, or being negligent towards Sony Pictures Animation? I cannot be the only one who thinks that. And this is especially the case of what we are seeing throughout 2021. Because the thing is, I have been seeing an increasing amount of news that technically Sony Pictures is not giving up on animation per se. They're still working on animated projects and animation related features. They're still doing animation works, but they're doing so without the Sony Pictures Animation brand. They're not letting Sony Pictures Animation be involved in the process. Or when it comes to the reports that do come out of it, no mention of Sony Pictures Animation would be involved. Rather it be the upcoming Faust series or the upcoming animation hybrid of Lyle the Crocodile. You'd think those would be Sony Pictures Animation movies, but apparently they're not, and they would just go and reject the name. Even Peter Rabbit, now, I could be wrong, but I think, wasn't the first Peter Rabbit, a part of the Sony Pictures Animation family, but then suddenly Peter Rabbit 2 comes in and that one is not. Apparently, they decided to take the Sony Animation name out of Peter Rabbit. And not only that, but especially the most prominent example that I could think of is with the way that they've handled the movies of 2021. Now, I understand that, selling their movies to Netflix is completely understandable, especially because of the pandemic. But when it comes to the marketing, when it comes to giving attention to those feature films, they barely did jack all. I understand that it would be more Netflix's responsibility for stuff like the marketing and for promotion and to let people be aware that their movies are on Netflix. But still, considering that it is Sony who did produce it, they're the ones who invested their money in producing these movies for years, you'd think they would put in some effort to go and promote these features onto Netflix as well, but they did jack all. And that's exactly what we have seen with Wish Dragon and with Vivo. And I know we could make the argument that technically maybe Sony Animation has done a lot more promotion for China, who is supposed to be the main target audience, but then you would have Vivo. What excuse do they have for not promoting a movie that is an animated musical by Lin-Manuel Miranda, starring Lin-Manuel Miranda, from the director of The Croods, and one of the producers is also the guy who did Wreck-It Ralph and Zootopia. There is tons of marketing material that they could have done with Vivo, and Sony pretty much did diddly squat for it. And now the most prominent example that we have seen so far, more so than those, has to be with what we are seeing with Hotel Transylvania, Transformania, and the way that they are just being neglectful about it. The fact that they forgot to update the fact that, no, it ain't going to be releasing in movie theaters. We might sell it to Amazon Prime Video, and it's not going to be released on October 1st. And the reason why this is so problematic is because of the fact that this is freaking Hotel Transylvania that we are talking about here. It's the fact that we are discussing not just, this isn't just a Sony animation series, but this is the most successful Sony Pictures animation franchise that they have at their disposal. This is the big one. This is supposed to be their most prominent franchise that they have from their entire legacy, from their entire collection. And now the treatment that they are giving to what is supposed to be the grand finale of the whole franchise is just being neglectful and just forgetting about it? I think there really is something suspicious. And I don't want to go and start any rumors. I don't want to start any crazy speculations or anything like that. But I feel like there is something going on between the dynamic of Sony Pictures and Sony Pictures Animation. And that there is something happening between the two that is not really connecting as much. That really, it feels like Sony doesn't want to be a part of Sony Pictures Animation. Now, I know that a lot of people are loving Sony Pictures Animation more and more, especially when they've been releasing their best movies so far, especially with works such as The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Vivo. Like, they have been great movies, and a lot of people have some strong personal attachments to them. But the fact that we are seeing Sony Pictures not really acknowledging Sony Pictures Animation or embracing their success or anything like that, and rather just want to be distant from them and just continuously selling them to streaming services while doing absolutely nothing in terms of marketing or distribution or anything like that, I just feel like it is massively suspicious. So yeah, overall, with this whole situation, like, at first, for me, I didn't really care much because, well, it's godforsaken Hotel Transylvania. Like, I really don't care if it would be released on October 1st or whatever. I mean, yeah, you guys know me. You guys know my sentiments about the franchise. I couldn't freaking care less of when the movie is going to be coming out. But I just feel highly suspicious of what this means between the relationship and the dynamic between Sony Pictures Animation and Sony Pictures. And what could this mean for their future? I have no freaking clue. So honestly, it's something that we would have to wait and see if Sony would actually do something about it, if they would go and address this issue, because so far, now this is pretty much at the point where Sony Pictures is being so neglectful to Sony Pictures Animation, where now it is starting to be damaging, where now people are starting to really be upset about the fact that they got broken promises, and that a lot of people, yeah, like, it's understandable why they would think that it would be released on October 1st, because, well, Sony didn't really do any updates about it, and they're still saying that it would be released on October 1st. And I mean, like, it's already been 3 days already. It's already been a whole weekend. Sony Pictures had time to go and make that significant update or to address the whole situation, but so far, they have just said nothing. So, all I'm asking is, what the fridge is going on with Sony Pictures and Sony Pictures Animation? Because so far, this dynamic just feels completely off to me. Alright, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the situation with Sony Pictures Animation and with Hotel Transylvania Transformania? Like, are you one of those people that are disappointed with Hotel Transylvania not being released on October 1st? Do you guys agree with me about the suspicions with Sony Pictures and Sony Pictures Animation? Let me know what you all think on this. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. I guess now we gotta call it Hotel Transylvania Transform Missing. Am I right? Oh, for God's sakes, dude. You really gotta go and do that? Alright, anyways, but seriously, I've heard of films being delayed or even stolen, but I've never seen one being lost in limbo. Sure, I was never the most excited for Transformania, but this is just absolutely bonkers, and the shining example of Sony's neglect for their animation department. All I can say now is, ha ha, Jonathan, your movie is in a state of limbo. You know, honestly, that's probably my favorite thing from the Hotel Transylvania franchise. It's that freaking stupid "ha-ha Jonathan" meme. I remember I made this like stupid Hotel Transylvania meme, and then I was like, some people even brought that up, and it just fills me with such joy. I guess it's kind of a Schadenfreude thing because, like I feel like Jonathan is one of the worst animated characters in a mainstream animated film. Like, so cringy, so annoying, and the franchise could have seriously been better without him. And the fact that we have a meme dedicated to Jonathan's misery, it fills me with such glee. All right, anyways, what do we have here? The fact that children have been legitimately crying because they didn't see Adam Sandler's Brian Hull's Dracula on Amazon Prime is quite surprising. However, this is not my most anticipated, so I'm not all mad about it, but I feel bad for the kids who really wanted to see this movie. Seriously, Sony, straighten up your freaking studio. Yeah, and I think that is kind of the punishment. I feel like some people might think it is a bit of a hyperbole to say that kids are crying because Hotel Transylvania is not being released. But considering that, again, we are talking about Sony Pictures Animation's biggest franchise, I don't feel that surprised to see that Hotel Transylvania, Transformania, like, not being released is kind of a big deal. Because, again, this is Sony Pictures' biggest animated franchise they've ever had. And the fact that they're being neglectful against them, I think it really says a lot about their current relationship with their animation studio. Let's see what we got here. I'm sad of those who want to watch Hotel Transylvania 4 on the day that they thought Sony was supposed to release it in theaters. I forgive Sony for their mistakes, and I'm excited to see their upcoming projects from Sony Pictures Animation like the K-pop Demon Hunters, Black Knight, and R-rated Fix. Speaking of The Addams Family 2, the movie received negative reviews from critics, so Hotel Transylvania 4 wins. Did they, though? Did they really? And you know, the one thing that I will say, though, like, you did actually remind me of something, but, you know, I will say this, is that the funny thing, though, is that if Hotel Transylvania would have been released on October 1st, they actually would have done pretty well at the box office. Regardless of what they would say in terms of, regardless of what critics would say about it, it would have done pretty legitimately well. In fact, take a look at The Addams Family 2. On its opening weekend, despite the fact that it got completely overshadowed by Venom Let There Be Carnage, it actually currently has you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it currently has the biggest opening for an animated feature in 2021 with $18 million. And if The Addams Family 2 has the same budget as the first Addams Family, I think it's pretty much in a safe road where it's going to be a hit. Like, it's actually going to be profitable for MGM. So, so in a way, you could say that Sony kind of shot themselves in the foot for selling away Hotel Transylvania to Amazon. But then again, they didn't really because, well, they're doing very well with Venom Let There Be Carnage. But still, though, if Hotel Transylvania didn't change plans and would have been released in theaters on October 1st, it actually could have done pretty well, actually. Let's see what else we got here. Seriously, I gotta agree with you, Matt. Sony is really neglectful when it comes to their animated films. Movies such as Vivo and Wish Dragon got little to no big promotions. When it comes to Hotel Transylvania Transformania, it's safe to say that Sony was being lazy on updates and that they didn't care about the movie. Let's just cross our fingers hoping that the movie would be released. No one's taking the Invisible Man's ugly design, right? Oh boy, yeah, now that's another major can of worms. Okay, let's see. The more that I think about it, the more I actually do feel Sony doesn't care about Sony Pictures Animation. They really have been flat out ignoring their movies outside of Spider-Verse. It just makes them look bad. Also, when it comes to Transformania, even if it would have been released in theaters, it probably wouldn't have been released on October 1st because of the release of Venom Let There Be Carnage on the same day. Well, I mean, I think that's another story entirely because of, like, the complications of the release and stuff like that. You know, it's like Sony is mostly improvising by this point when it comes to release dates. I think I'll read one more comment before we cap this one off. I did look on Amazon Prime, and I didn't see Hotel Transylvania 4, and yeah, it is not there. Well, at least Sony has Venom 2 in theaters, but however, Sony has no information nor has responded when the movie is going to be released on Amazon. Maybe Sony forgot to release it, or maybe they're just being flat out lazy. I mean, I feel the same as you do, but seriously, Sony needs to be more promising and releasing their movies. No, I think this is a situation where they're just flat out lazy, especially when something that is as anticipated as Hotel Transylvania 4, they should be a lot more aware about this. Seriously, I think it's ridiculous and really unheard of. It's like, this is not something that Sony could get out of it by saying, it's like, oh, we kind of just forgot about it. It's like, no, you couldn't have forgotten about this. This is something where, honestly, like, this is a top priority. This is something that is almost on the levels of, like, giving it attention as much as Venom Let There Be Carnage. And the fact that they're kind of ignoring it really speaks volumes of how they're viewing their animation studio, or, like, how they're pretty much handling the whole thing. It's just ridiculous. And I believe with all that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Again, I am so sorry for the technical difficulties at the start of all this. I know it was pretty ridiculous, and yeah, like when I'm going to do my outro, if you're watching this on Twitch, you're probably not going to hear it. Again, I will go and fix things up for next time. But with all that said and done, at least we managed to get through this episode well and bright. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes.